In a dream, a holy man was told by someone to quickly go to a certain graveyard. The holy man woke up immediately, terrified and with his chest drenched in sweat. Without delay, he ran towards the graveyard as directed. As he approached the graveyard, he saw something that made him stop. There were several dogs inside the graveyard feeding on something. Running closer to the dogs, he was horrified to discover that they were eating the body of a dead woman, which had emerged from her grave without its shroud, lying completely exposed. How did this body come out of the grave? Let me tell you, due to torrential rains, the grave had split open, and the body had come out. But why did this body emerge? It was so that people could see it, especially women, and learn a valuable lesson. Allah had brought this body out of the grave and allowed it to be exposed to dogs to teach people a lesson. The holy man chased away the dogs and was deeply troubled by what he saw. His hair stood on end with fear. After extensive searching, the holy man located the woman's family and learned that she had been one of the most beautiful women in the world. Allah had blessed her with exceptional beauty and grace. Alas, where is that beauty now? He wondered. That beauty she was so proud of. She used to boast, saying, "Look how soft and beautiful my hair is." The name of the world's most beautiful woman was now counted among the dead. Her beautiful clothes had been replaced with a shroud, and her magnificent house had been exchanged for a grave. The holy man, after chasing away the dogs and finding her family members, worked with them to rebury her properly. After the burial, the holy man thought, "I must know what sins this woman committed in her worldly life that turned her grave into one of the pits of hell, that made her an example for others to learn from, that caused her such humiliation in front of people." The holy man decided to perform istikhara one night, hoping to meet this woman in the dream world. As he slept, the same woman appeared in his dream. The holy man saw that inside her grave was a bed of fire. On this fiery bed lay that once beautiful corpse, now wrapped in flames, screaming and crying. Her grave was filled with nothing but fire, scorpions, and all kinds of insects. In the dream, the holy man asked her, "What sin did you commit in your worldly life that turned your grave into a pit of hell?" The woman, crying and screaming, replied, "O holy man, I committed 3 sins in my worldly life. These 3 sins have lit a fire in my grave, turned it into a pit of hell, and made me an example for others." She continued, "My first sin was this. When my loving husband, who fulfilled my every desire, would leave early in the morning, he would toil all day in the scorching sun, working hard to provide food for us. He would think, whether I get anything or not, at least my wife and children should have food to eat. He would work all day in the burning heat, earning our daily bread. But when he would return home in the evening, tired and exhausted, instead of welcoming him, I would say things that would only increase his exhaustion, words that would cause him pain and suffering, forcing him to complain to Allah about his situation. My second sin, which was a grave one, was that I would wear heavy makeup to show myself to strange men and would walk around with my hair uncovered, thinking that every passerby should look at me and be compelled to say that I was the most beautiful woman in the world. And my third and biggest sin was that I would invite strange men to my home without my husband's permission and commit sins with them. Astaghfirullah, I seek Allah's forgiveness." The story then continues with an important hadith, prophetic tradition. One day, Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu, alayhi, sallam, was sitting with his head between his knees, crying profusely. His blessed eyes were shedding tears continuously. Just then, Hazrat Ali Razi Allah Ta'ala came running and, kissing the Prophet's feet, asked, "O Messenger of Allah, what has caused your eyes to become wet with tears?" The Prophet replied, "On the night of Miraj, when I passed near hell, I saw women from my community being punished. The angels were inflicting punishment on the sinful women of my community. Whenever that scene comes before my eyes fill with tears of blood. I cannot bear to see that sight." Hazrat Ali asked, "O Messenger of Allah, which women are these and what sins did they commit in the world?" The Prophet, describing the first woman, said, "When I saw the first woman in hell, I saw her in such a state that the angels were hanging her by her hair in the midst of hellfire, and her brain was melting like a pot on the stove. She was crying and screaming, but the more she screamed, the more the angels would increase her punishment. When I asked Jibreel, alayhi sallam, what sin this woman had committed in the world, he replied, "O Messenger of Allah, this is a sinful woman from your community who would beautify herself excessively and make elaborate hairstyles before leaving her house, with the intention that every stranger should look at her. She was essentially spreading immodesty. She would not observe proper covering and didn't want to hide her hair under a veil. The Prophet continued, describing the second woman. I saw her in such a state that her tongue was so long that the angels were using it to hang her in the midst of hell, and they were pouring boiling water into her mouth. When I asked the angels about her sin, Jibril, alayhi sallam, replied, O Messenger of Allah, this is that sinful, ill-mannered woman from your community who would use her tongue to speak words that would cause pain and suffering to her husband. The Prophet then described the third woman. She was tearing the flesh of her face with her own nails and eating it. When I inquired, I was told, O Messenger of Allah, this is a sinful woman from your community who would beautify herself extensively and leave the house without her husband's permission, and in his absence would invite strange men to her home and commit sins with them. Dear brothers and sisters, the story continues, never torment anyone so much. Never make anyone cry so much. Never cause tears to fall from anyone's eyes. If they cry before Allah taking your name, remember, it will become a great problem for you, and you will face severe difficulties. These moments of life are precious for you. Do something worthwhile in these moments. Gather something good in these moments and kindle the remembrance and love of Allah in your hearts during these moments. Who knows if you will get another chance? Who knows if these moments of life will come again? May Allah grant us all an honorable life and a death with faith. Ameen.